takes guts to cut someone off mid-thought, but to do that to Joe Rogan on his show, that's practically asking for trouble. And time after time, guests learn that lesson the hard way. Whether it's Neil deGrasse Tyson dominating the mic, Steven Crowder going toe-to-toe in a weed debate, or even Adam Curry jumping in to Joe's patience is tested. And the results? Uncomfortable, fiery, and in some cases, absolutely unforgettable. Even Jamie, Joe's right-hand man, didn't walk away unscathed. But it's not just about interruptions. It's about ego clashes, steamrolled conversations, and that subtle shift in the room when Joe's no longer just smiling through it. These aren't just interviews, they're verbal battlegrounds. And sometimes they erupt. Before we dive into the most awkward, tense, and explosive guest moments on the Joe Rogan Experience, do me a quick favor. Like this video, drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more raw podcast showdowns just like this. And tell me this: if you were in Joe's seat, how would you handle a guest who kept cutting you off? Would you stay chill or snap back? Because trust me, what happened next? You'll want to see it for yourself.
That's not what I asked.
Oh,
how far away do you think it is before we could redirect?
How far away in time?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. No, I'm not trying to.
No, I know you're not.
This is just information.
Okay.
This is information, and I walk out of the room.
The moment Neil sat down, it was clear this wasn't going to be a smooth ride. You could almost sense it, like someone bringing a marching band to a meditation class. Now, cutting in once or twice during a conversation, that's one thing. But Neil, he bulldozed through every exchange like he was the only voice that mattered. Even when Joe tried to guide the conversation gently back on track, Neil was already 10 steps ahead, talking over, redirecting, steamrolled. And Joe. He's used to letting his guests explore ideas, even letting things get weird. But what he's not used to is being sidelined on his own platform. Take this moment. For example, Joe's asking a pointed, time-based question about redirecting comets to supply Earth with water. And instead of answering, Neil launches into a lecture about ice volume displacement and why pipes burst in winter. It was like asking for a weather update and getting a textbook. On thermodynamics, Joe tries to clarify politely. So when it freezes, it gets larger. Neil snaps back, mid-sentence. That's what expansion means. What's with your vocabulary here? That line, that tone shifted the entire energy in the room. You could feel Joe pulling back, giving Neil more rope to talk, but not necessarily because he was enjoying it. And the audience noticed too. The YouTube comments lit up with sarcastic jabs. One viewer joked, "I feel like Neil didn't let the guest speak much, and he was the guest." Another wrote, "Imagine two Neil deGrasse Tysons in a room. They'd collapse under the weight of their own interruptions." But it wasn't just the volume of talking, it was the refusal to let anything land. Joe would ask something, Neil would hijack the point, and within seconds the conversation was orbiting a totally different galaxy. And just when Joe tried to make sense of it, boom, Neil hit him with yet another tangent. From dark matter to frozen pipes to the melting point of glaciers, all delivered with the speed of a bullet train and 0 pit stops. That wasn't even the worst part. It gets deeper.
And you'd buy all Apple products with Apple phones, Apple iMacs, and you just invest in. What do you mean? No, hold, please. Let me finish.
Now let's talk about Adam Curry, the man known as the Podfather, and for good reason. He helped pioneer podcasting before most people even knew what an RSS feed was. But even a podcast legend can stumble when sitting across from Joe. Midway through a conversation about digital currencies and tech companies launching their own coins, Joe begins framing a hypothetical about Apple creating a native currency. But before he can even land the question, Adam blurts out a quick, "What?" Cutting off the entire train of thought. Joe pushes forward, but Adam keeps chiming in, adding layers of commentary before the actual question even finishes. It's the kind of excitement that's understandable in casual talk, but on Joe's show, timing is everything. To his credit, Adam catches himself quickly. He pauses, admits his mistake with a smile, and says, "Sorry, it's a bad habit. I get excited, I talk too much." That moment right there, that's what saved it. Joe didn't get defensive. Adam didn't double down. The interruption was real, but so was the recovery, and that's rare. You could see the mood relax instantly, the tension ease up. That kind of self-awareness, it bought Adam a second chance, but it also served as a warning. Even seasoned media vets aren't immune to the invisible boundaries of Joe's conversational rhythm. Still, nothing prepared viewers for what came next. A fiery, gloves-off clash between Joe and political commentator Steven Crowder. And it wasn't just tense, it was a full-blown podcast meltdown.
In the WikiLeaks memos...
See, this is where I was saying,
don't interrupt me. where Hillary Clinton said that she's against marijuana in every sense of the word, right? You remember those WikiLeaks papers that came out?
Yeah.
Is he? He said he would leave it up to the states.
Yeah.
That's actually a constitutional approach.
Now, there are certain topics that light a fire in Joe Rogan, and cannabis is one of them. He's been outspoken for years, from debunking myths to championing legalization. So when Steven Crowder casually pushed back on cannabis-related data, mid-episode, he had no idea what he was about to unleash. It started civil. Crowder questioned the narrative that Big Pharma had a hand in keeping marijuana illegal. Joe disagreed, but the tone was still manageable. Then the conversation shifted. Crowder brought up traffic fatalities in legal states. Joe challenged the source. Crowder pushed harder. Joe interrupted. Then Crowder interrupted back. And then it exploded. Joe fired off. No, you need to stop talking. You're walking all over the place. Crowder shot back, refusing to be steamrolled. I don't talk in paragraphs. I make full points. That's when it became less about marijuana and more about dominance. What followed was 10 straight minutes of two guys locked in a battle of wills. Joe, frustrated and aggressive; Crowder, combative and unrelenting. Neither one backing down. The energy in the studio completely shifted. The comments? Brutal. Some viewers slammed Joe, calling his reaction hostile and arrogant. Others said Crowder was pushing buttons just to get a rise out of him. After the episode aired, Joe took to Instagram to issue a rare public apology. He wrote, "We were quite drunk by the time we got into that debate. I lost my cool. I take full responsibility. It wasn't damage control. It was genuine, and love him or hate him." Joe's willingness to own his mistakes gave viewers something to respect. That clash with Crowder might have been messy, but it showed something raw and real. But believe it or not, even Joe's longtime producer, Jamie, couldn't escape the crossfire.
Vote more than all of the vote from some years?
Well, yes, that's what I was going to say. For Texas specifically.
How about you let him answer since he's the f***ing expert?
You're looking at me.
Jamie's like, no.
For Texas specifically, yes. Texas passed the total number of votes in their pre-vote.
You know, things are off the rails when even Jamie Joe's ride-or-die always-come fact-checker gets caught in the chaos. This moment happened just before the 2020 elections. During an episode titled The End of the World No. 2, emotions were running high and everyone was trying to process early voting numbers. Joe turns to Jamie for clarity. Huge turnout, right? How many? Jamie tries to pull up the numbers, but Joe's already steamrolling. I didn't vote because too many people were voting. Jamie stays cool, starts explaining the data, but then someone cuts in, hijacking the thread entirely. Jamie, always the quiet support beam of the show, gently pushes back. Texas specifically passed their early vote totals. Joe turns blank. Stare, waiting. It's subtle, but you can see it. Jamie's tone shifting, his voice flattening. The guy who usually has a clever quip or a light laugh, silent. It wasn't the most explosive moment, but it was a rare glimpse into the tension that even trusted team members can feel when the room gets too loud. And for fans who've been watching for years, that moment didn't go unnoticed. One comment read, "Jamie's the glue holding this podcast together, and y'all better start appreciating him before he walks." Another joked, "He's got an A in physics and infinite patience. Protect Jamie at all costs." And honestly, they're not wrong. At its best, the Joe Rogan Experience is a place for deep ideas, challenging conversations, and unexpected humor. But sometimes, it's also a front row seat to ego battles, missed cues, and moments when things fall apart. Whether it's Neil deGrasse Tyson talking over everyone like he's lecturing a freshman class, or Joe snapping mid-argument, or even Jamie catching stray heat for just doing his job. These aren't just gotcha clips, they're human moments. Awkward, messy, unpredictable, and weirdly kind of beautiful, because that's what happens. When people really talk, let me know which moment hit the hardest or. If you've ever had a conversation spiral like that, and if you enjoyed the ride, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this with a friend who needs to hear these chaotic classics. Until next time. Stay curious and let people finish their sentences.